now recording. So
Excellent.
awesome. Thank you all so much for joining. My name is Anuschka and I'm an empowerment health coach and energy healer.
Hello there, and I am Jacob Moya, and I am also a healer, a therapist, a researcher, and I play a lot with instruments and energies and that kind of thing.
Yes, and Jacob's absolutely amazing at everything he does. And
Thank you.
today we're actually going to talk about something interesting that Jacob shared with me, and it's called German New Medicine. And what I love about it is that I've been actually following Louise Hay's cause of symptoms for years now, before what I went through. So for those that don't know, I went through a whole brain tumor healing journey over 3 years ago now. And before that, I had been introduced to You Can Heal Your Life, which is a book that Louise Hay wrote. And Louise Hay is someone that actually was able to heal herself of cervical cancer, and I believe more than once, and then was supported many others in healing whatever different symptoms that they had, physical symptoms, based on subconscious beliefs. So that's really some of the things that she shares about. And there's a book out there called You Can Heal Your Life. And there's a website out there as well, which I love. So what I had been doing when I first started coaching is I would actually have someone share with me what they're dealing with. And then I would go look it up. And then I would say, oh, is this something that resonates with you? And 99.5%, I would say, of the time, it would resonate. And so it was really interesting to me to see how this subconscious belief actually plays such a big role in our physical symptoms. And then Jacob introduced me to German New Medicine. Do you want to share a little bit about how you got introduced to it? And then we can talk about some of the things that I found that correlate with one another.
Sure. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I've been an empath and some sort of non-mainstream ability since I was a little kid, right? So I was very keeping it to myself all the time, very quiet introvert to a point. But when I was on my own world, I always tried to find how things work. And I remember, like for example, playing with Play-Doh, right? When like I was a kid, and then burning the Play-Doh and seeing all the different elements coming apart. And then why cannot put it back together the way that it was now that it's cold? You know, kind of like those things, they were always on my mind. My mother actually helped me to put up a fire on my bed when I was a little kid. I just remember running to the kitchen and telling her, fire. And she come up and throw a bucket of water into the bed because you know, it was fascinating for me, all these elements, all these different things. But because I was dyslexic, I didn't follow the traditional route, that is going into the library or encyclopedia and start reading about it, because it was hard for me to read. But instead I want to experience a lot, you know, and all my life I followed that path. And afterwards, you know, the brain is so magnificent that supplements things that you're missing on one side and try to put it together on the other side in a different way. So I become very logical. And what I noticed was that when I finally understood something, it was very easy for me to explain it to people that couldn't have it, couldn't understand it the traditional way. But it was because in my mind, I disassembled everything and put it back together and tried to find the logic of how things work and why. So I always been with this kind of like a researcher bug inside of me. But I didn't went the traditional path. I never went to have a PhD or something like that in something specific. I always been doing the things on my own. Later on life, lately, since I've been practicing more like the channeling and the healing and trying to resolve problems, it was kind of like intriguing to me to understand why it was so important for the people to heal the spiritual stuff that they've been carrying, although they were not aware of. You know, but my healers were like, we have to work on this person right now, and I was like, they don't want to. You know, it's not going to produce money, it's not going to help them with the relationships. You know, they do have these quantum shifts when they heal themselves out of something that they've been carrying from either from generations on the lineage that they are living right now, or from their spiritual upbringing. But the changes feel like very subtle. You know, it's like things start being less complicated, and it's easier for you to get out of bed. But because these are things that you are getting into your life little by little, many people don't notice them. You know, you have to be a little bit sensitive in order for you to notice these things. So anyway, I always was focused on my practice in healing the emotional stuff. And somewhere inside of me, I knew that the beginning of and the end of everything was the emotional stuff. And but I also deal with a lot of clients that are kind of like a more mainstream, more traditional, right? They understand numbers and research and that kind of thing, and know my stuff that I've seen, and because not many people can see it. Different variations in colors, in energy, holes of energy in the people, and so on and so forth. So during that, this German new medicine was pumping up with clients, you know, and I was working with someone, and he's like, oh yeah, my doctor told me that for the German new medicine, they have this idea. And it was like, oh, really? But once I have it like 2-3 times in a short period of time, it's like, there's something here, you know. It's like my attention is being directed towards this new knowledge for me. So I started researching about it. And kind of like everything make a lot of sense to me. Now, careful with this, because most people, when they go into the research of the German new medicine, they also try to find out Dr. Hammer's life and lifestyle. And he was very, how can I say this in a nice way? It was full of conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff, you know. So
a lot of controversy.
And
yeah,
controversial. There you go. That's the word. That's the word that I was looking for. And he was a German, and this was, I mean, he's gone already physically, right? He's no longer alive. But this is something that he was carrying from the time where all the wounds of the war were still the Second World War was still like very, very active, very live in the people, you know, in memories. And when he started talking about all these different things, and the Jews doing this, and these are doing these other things, and it was too controversial, and he was kicked out of many countries. But that doesn't remove all his accomplishments when it comes to be a researcher, right? Because he was very factual based. And remember that for something scientific to stick, you need to replicate it or see it replicated many, many times over, you know, in the same way. So that's how I was introduced to this. You know, it was in my search for trying to find how emotions, in my search to find ways to prove to the people how emotions affect their physical body and their physical life, you know, the way that we think and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I loved it, because when you shared it with me, there was a video I watched, and I got like, I was like, this is fascinating, because I had already learned about Louise Hay's. And after what I personally experienced in the course, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. And Dr. Hammer, he went through trauma himself. And one of the things he talked about was the fact that he had been doing all this research, and then all of a sudden his son at 17 gets shot and killed, which was an adulthood trauma, which then led to having cancer. And so all of a
Right.
sudden, like all these different theories actually became scientific facts, right? So that
Right.
to me, I thought was really fascinating. And like, I watched this other video, which I found like mind blowing, because again, it was something to do with just how our bodies work, not just humans, but mammals in general, right? And like, I've also heard Dr. Joe Dispenza talk about it and Bruce Lipton. And one of the examples they talk about is like, take a deer, for example. And if a deer, right, is being chased by a tiger or a lion, well, what's going to happen is fear. It's going to go into fear mode, stress mode, and the body's going to go into that fight or flight mode, which for a deer, it's going to be flight, and it's going
Yeah,
to
yeah,
run
yeah.
away. But the difference is it's either going to get caught and eaten and it's gone, or it gets
That's it.
away, right? And then it goes back to grazing grass, and it goes back to just living life without any of the past experience. So therefore, they're not carrying on the fear. Whereas as humans, we continue to carry on these past experiences, the fear, which then the fear is what becomes the sickness and really shows up as physical symptoms. So this is how I really understood it all, like stress,
Yeah.
like whatever ends up remaining, right?
Right, right. And that's part of my research, and it's an informal research. It's not a formal research because, like I said, I haven't followed a degree or any sort. But in my informal research, I've been noticing how, the reason why the deer release all the emotions, the energetic side of the emotion, because remember, he's not forgetting about the event. And we have proof of that, especially with elephants, right? How they walk through a place where an elephant was killed before they cry and they feel and they get stuck, So animals don't forget. What they do is they keep living the same way that they've been living for thousands of years, which is walking on the ground, when you are under stress, we usually don't have a need to eat. We humans eat because we need to find a way to compensate something dense with something that we like, a bad experience with a good experience to bring ourselves back to balance. But in reality, in the past, it was not about going to a restaurant and getting hammered with alcohol or just, it was more about walking, right? It was about going through life and just releasing the energy. But nowadays, because we have insulated shoes all the time, we have tennis shoes, we have rubber sandals, we have all sort of insulation between our foot soles and the ground, we are not able to release those emotions. That energy stays within us. And energy needs to go somewhere or get stuck in some way, and usually get stuck inside of us. So that is the thing that I like it. And because Dr. Hammer, started researching more about the consequences of not releasing the emotions and then matching it to type of sicknesses, because at the beginning it was just cancer, but then expanded and they have a whole list of things.
Such a huge list, yeah.
Yeah, because they have almost most common symptoms attached to certain particular events or emotion in your past. And that's what is fascinating. Now, just to leave something with the people that kindly are watching this live transmission, just notice how children act when they are very upset, like toddlers. They're having a tantrum. What they do, they go with the feet and, in the hands and, that is what is natural for us, And what they are actually doing, especially if they are barefoot, is releasing all that emotion and not side of them, and that's what is very important. And that's something that we all should be doing when we are experiencing some sort of trauma, just to jump up and down, run until all that energy leaves our body, and
Yeah.
we give it to the earth, and the earth is going to transform it, you know. So
Mhm.
so
Yeah, and it's
that's
like
what it is.
it's yeah, and it's like, and then I also remember one of the videos that I saw around it. They were also saying that there's the sacred medicine, which I believe is it's like Latin, right? So it's like that is another name for it even. So it's like it's as if like it's like from so many different places, yet there is correlation with all of them. And it makes sense because like one of the ones that I was watching, it was talking about, for instance, breast cancer, right? And so what I noticed is like both of them, and I mean I have some of the different ones right here, but
Mm-hmm.
both Louise Hay's Cause of Symptoms and German New Medicine, they go back to nurturing. Like, what are breasts for? They're for nurturing,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
so when women, because most of them, I mean, of course, men can get breast cancer too, but it's
Right.
a lot of times women because women are mothers and they're naturally more nurturing. And so it doesn't have to mean you're nurturing for a kid. It could be an animal, it can be a sibling, it can be a friend, whatever it is. It's like that over nurturing is actually, and it's so interesting because both of them talk about that. So like for on Louise Hay, it says represents mothering and nurturing. And when you have a like any kind of a cancer, a lump or cyst, it's a refusal to nourish yourself and you're putting others first, right? Over mothering, over protecting, over nurturing, really. And then
Mm-hmm.
German New Medicine, very similar. It's that whole that it says nest worry conflict, where it's like you're constantly worrying about
Mm-hmm.
someone other than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So these are
Mm-hmm.
some of the things, and it's so interesting to me that they're so similar yet completely.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating, and the beautiful thing about that is you know, emotions play such a big role in our lives, that not understanding and not doing something to not control them but to release them will create a very different life experience for you, you know. And I think that that is the value of this communication that we're having today,
Mhm.
because even if you research a little bit, there's a lot of documentaries now about ayahuasca and how they call it, sacred plant medicine. That's how they
Plant
call it,
medicine,
plant medicine now.
like the magic
And
mushrooms,
yeah,
all
and
stuff.
and yeah, all that kind of stuff. And if you notice, if you pay attention to one of the documentaries in as a researcher, not as a person that is getting entertained by the documentary, but as a researcher about what can you learn, what is this experience telling you, what is the common thing, how someone is curing themselves from PTSD, another one is from smoking cigarettes, the other one is from alcohol, the other one is from depression, you know, and they all are going through the same ceremony and they all have these amazing experiences. But usually there's a catharsis, you know, there's a, during the process, some puke, some cry, some scream, some ask for forgiveness, some forgive someone, you know. And at the end, if we can measure it, how they end up being on the other side when they free themselves from all the stuff that they've been carrying, it was by releasing emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these are the emotions that are healing a lot of sickness as well, because many people that are going through those experiences are people that are going through those experiences because they cannot find the answers or the cure in a traditional medicine. So
Mm-hmm.
they choose to go through these different paths, and it's the same. It's all about the emotions. The beautiful thing about the German New Medicine, and I strongly recommend to all the people to at least grab a book. And I love audiobooks because, like I said, the reading for me is kind of slow. But in this particular case, you have to go through the physical thing, so you can see the different situations and highlight what correspond to you in your life, you know, because it will give you such a vast information about how our machine actually works. It's like a manual, you know, that helps you to finally comprehend and understand that this part is not just the physical. The food for your being is not what you put in your mind. I mean, in your mouth. It's also what you put in your mind. It's also what you breathe. You know, there's so much stuff in how it affects you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, and like what actually that came to me too when I was just saying that, I'm like, our body's so intelligent. It is so intelligent. And one of the things I learned through German new medicine, especially when I was having that scare, which ended up being scar tissue, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
these things that show up, for instance, scar tissue is actually a form of, like, if it shows up in the brain, these cells, it's actually part of the healing process of the body. And really allowing our body to do what it knows best by, of course, giving the right food, releasing the emotions, making sure we raise our frequency, all of it, of course, that's part of it. But really taking a look at it as like, oh, this is just our body going through its own healing process. As a society, as a culture, we've taken on this, oh my God, cancer and tumor, and it, like, people get freaked out and they associate it to death immediately. And that's like what's been taken on as a culture, rather than stepping back and looking at it like, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? What am I supposed to heal during this? It's an opportunity to heal something within us. It's like a healing journey. Right. And that to me is so powerful. And really, when you look at cancer or tumors, even with Louise Hay, she says it's cancer is a deep hurt, long-standing resentment, deep secret of grief, eating away at the self, carrying hatred, anger. Cancer and tumor, and I know that for myself 100%. I know I shared with you like a few lives back where I was such an angry resentful 20-year-old. Like, I'm very clear that I created whatever happened in my brain. And I'm also very clear that I've actually done all the work to heal what needed to be healed, Western and alternative, and all the treatments, right? Yeah.
That's great and amazing. I mean, and I think that because I'm on a holistic center, right? But I don't see many places taking this whole approach. You know, it's like they give you supplements, they give you the treatment, and we use machines usually to help compensate for things that the body needs, but we rarely bring that other part, you know, like the karmatic experience, like the lineage, you know, all the wounds from the lineage, like releasing the stuff from your parents, from your grandparents, from previous relationships, you know, from even from different versions of yourself. You know how important it is to forgive yourself and to give credit to yourself, you know, in order for you to be able to transform your life, but also the things that how you entertain yourself are very important and they play a huge role, you know, a huge role in everything that you do. And I was you know, going back to this, you were mentioning that how we do things that are not that rational for us. This is the comment. No, well, it's a series actually in with Zac Efron in Netflix. It's a fairly new one.
Unwell.
And
Unwell.
And I was Unwell.
I haven't watched. I haven't
no idea. Probably
that one, right? It looks amazing.
Well, I don't want to spoil it, but the second chapter, I just watched the second chapter or program, and it was about water, you know, and how crazy it is that we are trying to drink the most purified water that we can come up with. And he's and one of the guys over there, it tells you, I mean, if the water is pure, it's almost dead, you know. You need all the nutrients.
Well,
and then
We talked about that
Right. And
on my live yesterday with my other, because you know how I do these lives, and we were just
yeah, I know. Yeah.
just
Water, yeah. And
uh-huh.
it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And one of the concepts that they mention is that and it totally makes sense. I mean, I never realized it, on my own, but now that I have that information, it's just click inside of me, and it's like water, it's like a magnet from minerals, right? That's the only way that the water can get minerals, is because it attracts the minerals towards them. And if they don't have the minerals, because it's such a pure water, when you put it inside of your body, it's gonna search for the minerals, and it's gonna bring them over. And I was like, well, I don't know if it's scientific based or not, but it makes total sense to me. Makes total sense to me. And because that's how nature works, we attract the things. And what Dr. Hammer in his German New Medicine proved to us was that, that every action have a reaction, right? And so you experience one trauma, you don't solve the trauma, it goes into a part of your body, it will show up in a particular area of your brain in the brain scan, and that can tell you precisely what type of cancer you are developing or you have, right?
And then it goes back to the subconscious and what lives still within us through the emotions that we've suppressed.
Well, yeah, because the subconscious is the one that is creating that interference in that part of the brain that is going to create the new program for the cells in order for them to manifest the cancer. I mean, it's fascinating.
It's so fascinating.
It's like the water. It's like the water. That emotion acts as a magnet and attract a form of heal. And if you don't heal the good way, the easy way, the natural way, your body is gonna force you to it. Cheers.
Yeah.
It was for me fascinating,
really,
fascinating to find out.
Yep.
So
like we all have these cancer cells. Every single one of us does. Like it's within the body, and it's just a matter of something's gonna like
trigger them.
Like whatever exists still within us, the emotions and everything, and then it gets triggered, and then everything else gets added to it. Whether it's the new food you eat, alcohol you drink, EMF, all the things, toxicity, right? All these things will contribute to it. And so therefore it becomes cancer, tumor, or whatever, autoimmune. Like how many people are dealing with all crazy kinds of autoimmunes these days, right? And a lot of it is triggered by some kind of a subconscious belief that is a blind spot. And then other things like nutrient deficiency ends up causing it to be whatever it turns out within the physical body itself.
Exactly. And I think that's the most important lesson, that understand that everything happens for something. There's always a consequence, because remember, we talked about this in other live streams where we were mentioning this dimension is all about balance. So it's natural for us to search for balance. That's what the body is going to do. That's what your cells inside of your body are doing. That's what nutrition does inside of your body. That's always is like that. There's a balance. There's something going on inside of us that is creating balance. And if you focus on that, it will help you. If you are living through a difficult time right now, through a difficult experience because of your job, because of whatever, just think that this situation that you are experiencing is balancing something else or something that is about to happen. So instead of being overwhelmed by the experience, just allow yourself to focus on the other side, either what you lived before or what you are going to live because of this experience.
Yes.
And if you wouldn't have this experience, you wouldn't be living that.
Oh, yeah.
In the case of here, my
friend, to me. So, yeah.
Friend, she went through a dramatic line, but the more it's like a pendulum, the more that it swings to the other. And look at you now, you know, all the things that you're doing and creating, it's amazing. But it was because you choose to take that as an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And you choose to heal. Exactly. And you choose to heal and release and be humble enough to understand that, oh, I may still have more stuff to heal, but I'm ready for it. You know, when it comes, I'm ready for it. You know, and that's what matters.
It's a never-ending healing journey. That's why we're here. We're always going, and that's how I see it. I'm like, life is a healing journey. Whether it's something internal, no matter what, whenever as long as we have triggers, which we're always gonna have because we're human, then we have the opportunity to heal it and keep unfolding. It's like that onion with layers, and it's like a never-ending onion. You just keep peeling away those layers and healing, and really looking at it as an opportunity, like Jacob says, and seeing the gift in it. Like, what is the gift in whatever it is that you're dealing with? I feel like that in itself is huge, and it allows you to really start releasing, like, okay, what is it that I'm dealing with, and start releasing those emotions. So
Right. And you know what? Just having that attitude transforms everything, because if you have a person or a situation like a person that is bugging you all the time, and you happen to think that this situation that I'm living right now is going to bring me a lot of good stuff into my body or into my life, because, you know, I'm focusing on the gift. You stop seeing that person as an attacker, and you start seeing them as an angel that is here in your life to deliver a gift for you. You have to pay for the gift, though. That is going through that experience. But you couldn't have the gift if it wasn't for that person, you know? And what a way to rephrase everything. What a way to transform your life experiences. You know, if you only give yourself that opportunity, it will be incredible.
Yeah, because we're gonna attract like, it's what we attract in our life. It's like a mirror. It's really great when you like, for instance, have an argument with someone around, let's say, I don't know, I can't, okay, so for me, like, I have a trigger of being called stupid because my 5th grade teacher called me stupid, right? Whereas I don't think Jacob, I don't know, maybe you have that trigger too. I don't know. I know Ashkan doesn't have that trigger. So if I were to call him stupid, he would probably just laugh at me, because that's not his trigger. For me, now I've done work around it, but there's still times where I'm like, I get that little bit of that, my little 5th grader sometimes is like, don't call me stupid, right? But I've done the work and I've healed through it, because that's what there was to do. So it's like really looking at those triggers as an opportunity to heal.
Funny thing, I mean, just sharing something that I experienced this over the weekend, about totally related to what you're saying. I was with my family. We were celebrating. My daughter's birthday was on the 23rd, and my younger sister's birthday was on the 31st. So 23rd and 31st. So it was within the same week. So we went to LA, my daughter and I, and we were at my sister's on Sunday. The celebration was on Saturday, but we were on Sunday hanging out. And there was an issue with the fan, and I was in the kitchen, and the fan was blowing all the AC towards me, and so I went to move the fan, and my sister told me, "Why are you putting it that way?" And I just give it to her. Just put it any way you want. You know, I just don't want it on top of the chair because it's blowing everything towards the stove. You know, and and she told me, "It's just common sense." You know. Immediately get triggered because he was like, I just told her, you know what, your common sense is different from my common sense, and she's very well, so she's tough, right? So no, there's just one common sense. And I said, no, believe me, I put it the way there was common sense for me to put it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't good.
Yeah.
good enough for you. You know, you have a different version of common sense, so you just adjust it. But mine's not better. Okay, she was, I don't know, she was working over the phone, and because she does promotions, she's very good at this, and does promotions for brands in stores, you know, in grocery stores and grocery chains. So she always have work over the weekends because of that, right? Because weekends is when the stores are more busy. And so she was all doing this stuff, and then eventually she says she was looking for the definition of moron, and and she started reading the official definition, the Google definition, not official, the Google definition of moron, and I say, AKA people that don't have common sense, and everybody laughed. But I noticed that the way that I say it was more like bring it back, you know, on putting in her face how insulted it was, or is insulting it is, you know, to use that word with other people. But until that moment, I realized how much it really affected me, because I didn't stay with the statement and with this opportunity that we both have to talk about it and then let it go. You know, I keep it inside of me until later on, like 30, 45 minutes later, when she came up with that, and I was able to, you know. So yeah, so I most likely I have something to heal in that arena as well.
Yeah. I realized common sense about this whole well, I mean, same as right and wrong, truth, right? Because we all have
totally
experiences. And I remember I had a similar experience a few years ago with my dad, and I was like, it's common sense. And then I was like, oh shit, his common sense is totally different than mine, because the way we live life is completely different. And I was like, oh my God, I kind of was like mind blown, and I'm like, oh, this is the same thing. This is like a few years ago, right? When I wasn't as into this stuff. And I was like, oh, that's the same thing as right, because everybody's right's different. Everybody's like wrong is different. I mean, serial killers don't think they're doing anything wrong. Otherwise they wouldn't.
Right.
Or like,
and levels of tolerance as well, you know, and depending, like in this particular example that I'm giving you, my daughter, my sister was laying down in a couch, and the vent was on the other side of the couch, so I put it in her hand so she can accommodate it any way she wanted. But the thing is, from the place that she were, it kind of like make common sense to put it in a particular way, right? Because that's the way that she's seeing life in that particular moment. From where the place that I was, that was next to the stove, trying to warm up food or whatever, it was just not rational to do it that way. You know, it was actually, I mean, what the difference of putting it up or down if it's still gonna blow the air towards me, right? But that's very, very important to bring it over, because how many times we do the same, you know, how many times we assume that the other people are seeing, thinking, believing in the same things that we are thinking, seeing, and believing, you know, and how many conflicts get triggered because of that, you know, because of our lack of empathy or respect of someone else's experience. You know, it's incredible. Yeah,
and like having that compassion and really seeing that, hey, everybody has a point of view, and no matter what, you can be twins and live the exact same life and be in the same, but you're gonna have different experiences in life no matter what. No matter what, two people, even twins, are never going to have a similar point of view because of experiences and whatnot. And like, even like, I mean, to go to past lives and all that stuff, it's like a whole So take a look at German New Medicine, check out Louise Hay's Cause of Symptoms, and if there's anything you're dealing with, of course, you're more than welcome to reach out to either myself or Jacob. We obviously are very passionate about this stuff, and we can definitely take a look and see, okay, well, if you are experiencing something, let's find what that emotion or belief is, because that in itself is a great part to like start
Mhm.
with. It's a great awareness to have. And then from there, doing the releases that's necessary and the healing, of course. Right?
Yeah. We always try to find the source of everything, you know, because many times the source is not even out of this experience, you know. So
Mhm.
that's fascinating, guys. It's transforming lives one life at a time.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know, so we are here for you.
And as
All right.
usual, it's Tuesday, so meditation tonight for anyone that is pulled to join us. They're absolutely amazing. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I am sure I will be posting about it at some point today. So join us.
Yeah, definitely. And guys, we're on a full moon. We talk about this on another live stream. You know, the moon seasons. Emotions are very, very high up for everybody. We are all very sensitive. I just share with you guys what I went through. And believe me, I am someone that can be very, very neutral. I'm a master of that. I'm a master of releasing other people's emotions and not allowing anybody or anybody else's energy to come into my body, and I just allow myself to get triggered, you know. And so it's for everybody.
Mhm.
It's a full moon. It affects us. So be kind to each other. Talk to the people that you love. You know, you haven't talked to your parents in a while. Just check on them. Your grandparents, check on them. This is a fantastic time to reconnect at an emotional level with anybody that you want to reconnect with.
Yeah.
You know, so use these opportunities. Just go with the flow. You know, allow yourself to flow, to follow the path of energy. You
Yeah.
know, it will be a way easier life for you.
Yeah. And don't make yourself wrong. As Jacob said, if he can get triggered, we all can. So
I know.
it's human nature. But so just be with the
Yeah,
emotions and release it. Don't hold it in.
yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
all for
yeah.
joining. And until next week or tonight, if you're coming to meditation.
Absolutely. Look forward, guys. Bye bye.
Bye.